So I'm going to teach you the one thing on this web and Indeed thing that you're going to like need to take away right now. Okay, so if you're going to learn one thing when you're dealing with web applicants that's very different than in-person like public encounters and stuff like that. Web applicants are, what's the difference between a web applicant versus you going after a friend? Who can tell me? What's the difference? What? They don't know your brand. They don't know you. The biggest difference that nobody pays attention to, one is applying for a job, one's not asking for the job. Does that make sense? So most people, they're like, hey, you should come here. And then if you go attack a personal recruit, you're sounding like a multi-level marketing company that's like, hey, you want to sign two, and then they recruit two, and then you're going to be a multi-billionaire, and you're going to make money on all this lotion. No. A lot of times when you go after your personal recruits, you come off like not like a job. You come off as like some side hustle, side gig thing that they want to like maybe dip their toe in. With a web applicant, they are applying looking for a full-time career. Nobody goes on Indeed and is like, I'm going to apply for this like make money whenever you want, unlimited cap, potential opportunity. What does that sound like? Is it that? Yes. But if we dress it up like that, it turns people away when we think this sounds sexy. Work when you want, make as much money as you want, travel all the time, live your best life. Somebody applying on an online job, they're going to be like, what? No, I need somebody that tells me what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and I need like something stable. This does not sound stable as much as you guys said it sounds so sexy. So you're actually shooting yourself in the foot a lot of times with the copy and the narrative that you're presenting in front of them. So I want to come off much like Google. Is Google going to post a job and be like, come work here whenever you want, you know, just kind of like unlimited potential? No. Google is going to be like, here's our requirements, here's the job description, can you fit or do you not fit? And then we're going to go through a series of interviews and we'll let you know if we picked you. Does that make sense? So we call it the two hats. You got to know when you wear the salesman hat, trying to sell people on the job, and you got to know when you're wearing the HR hat, which is when you're playing like, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if you'd be a good fit for the job. Like, we have a lot of candidates we go through, we're pretty selective. Even though inside you're like, this guy's a stud, like, he's gonna be my top rep. Like, you know that internally, you gotta hold back and you gotta be like, I honestly think out of a lot of the applicants, you seem like you have a decent vibe for our position. I'll talk to the owner and like, I'll root for you. Like, I'll be on your team. I'll let him know, like, hey, I highly recommend you. But at the end of the day, like, it's up to him. And they're going to go through all the applicants and make sure to see if you're the best candidate. And we'll let you know within the next couple days. Never offer the job right there on the first interview. Does that make sense? Google's not be like, yes, finally. Yes, somebody that has, like, no face tattoos. They didn't come in smelling like whiskey. I'm so excited. You know, like, if you come off that way, they're going to be like, I don't want to work here. Like, what? Does that make sense? So it's a lot of it is in the positioning and how you're talking your narrative. So another big tip so let's go to number 5 and 4. So psychological positioning and interviewing skills. So you've got to have some of this. So I just taught you a psychological positioning. Here's another psychological positioning. Raise your hand if you get scared to bring up door-to-door sales or commission only. When you all of a sudden you're like, hey, it's commission only. Then all of a sudden the candidates are like, oh, I need something stable. My wife would never say yes to that. Has anybody dealt with that? Say, I have. Say what? You guys awake? Everybody say, I'm awake. Let's hear you. Now, come on. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Help me out a little bit. Okay. So interviewing skills. So watch how I change commission only to change this, like change the positioning of how I bring it up. Write this down or record this because this is going to be a very, very good tip. So, Steve, get up here. Be my candidate. He's like, I'm writing notes. Love it. I need a. Okay, we're going to do an interview right here. Okay. Oh, we got chairs and stuff. It's going to be so good. Okay. So, Steve, you know, a lot of people, they get nervous. I'm assuming you're like wondering how you get paid, right?
Sure.
Yeah. The biggest problem in our industry, I have to be straight up with you.
I prefer it that way.
Yeah. We pay too much a lot of times, and that's like our biggest problem because what happens is we pay about $2,000 per commission on average. And what ends up happening is it takes, I don't know, a couple hours to get one sale. And so people go out for 4 or 5 hours, they get 1 or 2 jobs, they make $2,000 to $4,000 in a day, where more like their previous job, they're making $2,000 to $4,000 a month.
Sure.
And so what happens is they'll do that for 2 or 3 days in a row. They'll make $8,000, $10,000 bucks.
$2,000 a day?
Yeah, so you get paid $2,000 a job, like a deal. Does that make sense? So it only takes a couple hours to get a deal. And so they'll, in 2, 3, 4 days, they'll make 2, 3 times what they were making in their prior jobs or another job that they'd go to, and then they get really complacent. They stop working, they don't stick to the schedule, they stop coming to meetings, they stop going to they just disappear to Mexico for a week because they're living on their high life of making all this money. And so our biggest struggle is actually keeping people consistent and avoiding the complacency. So we don't hire people that would get really complacent with making like $2,000 to $3,000 a deal in a day. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you're the type that would get really complacent with like if you were to make.
Not me. I'm good.
You wouldn't?
No.
I'll be honest, every time somebody sits down in this chair, they're going to say that. I need to know because I do not want to hire any more people that just get really complacent and they just stop working, even though, the job's not easy, but they just get paid too much.
I'm a racehorse.
Did you see what I just did to him? Now, is commission the question, or is it, holy crap, how much money, like, how does this work? It's not about like, oh my gosh, this is unsafe, there's no guarantee. It's kind of like, I don't know if you can handle making this much money. Is this a true statement? Does this happen to you guys? Say, this has happened to me. Loud, say, this has happened to me. I hired a rep. He made more money in 2 days, and then all of a sudden he just fell off the face of the earth, and you're like, where are you, dude? He's like, I'm living large. I'm like, stop living large, you dink. Start working. Because the second you're going to spend it all, and then you're going to be, and then you're going to ask me for a loan tomorrow again.
I'm in.
You're in? Okay, thanks, Steve. Let's give it up for Steve. Okay. But most of you guys, you do the exact opposite of that. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. You make like $2,000 a deal. Look, you can make like $100,000 so easy. It's like, wow. It's like, no, this job's pretty tough. We keep you consistent. This is what goes into it. And I play the reverse. So this is kind of an inverse close. Does that make sense? So this would be the HR hat. And a lot of you guys are actually doing, you're prescribing the wrong medicine, which is then you're doing it backwards. And this is what's killing you when it comes to recruiting. You're like, why didn't they show up for the job? Why didn't they show up for the second interview? It's because you're scaring them away more than you think.